What are your thoughts at this point?
The most important thing with these meetings today is that Europe is gathering at a very difficult time for Europe. We are going to discuss defense and security. We have to be able to defend ourselves. Everyone can see that. The war is still going on in Ukraine. It is important that Russia does not win it. At the same time, we have to reinforce it. The hybrid war has hit Europe in a number of European countries. This is something we are going to discuss.
Could you ask your European colleagues if they have made the right decision?
In general, I would say that it is part of the hybrid war's nature that the enemy does not recognize itself. Right now, I think we are looking in the wrong direction. If we focus too much on a single episode, then something happens in Poland, then something happens in the Baltic countries, then something happens in Denmark, then something happens in Germany, then something happens in Norway. Then we lose sight of it. That is the pattern we have to follow. That pattern is, in my opinion, a hybrid war against Europe. That is what we have to react to. With the attacks that come in a hybrid war, you will very rarely be able to find the one you want. So we have to look away. See the pattern. The hybrid war is going on, unfortunately. Is there a risk that it will cost the Danish money if you do not get Russia to pay for it? When Russia chooses to attack Europe, either directly, as we see it in Ukraine, or with a hybrid war, then there is a big bill to pay. Just look at what is happening in the countries that are exposed to the hybrid war. Then there are disturbances in the air traffic. Then there are things that have to be closed down. So this comes with a big price, unfortunately. Therefore, I think that the Commission's basic idea that it is these freezing Russian resources that we use for both a restoration of the entire Ukrainian society, but also to finance their here, is the right thing. And it is with that in mind that it is Russia that will pay for the damage they have done.
As a response to this topic, you have said that you think that we are beginning in a time that is reminiscent of the time up to the Second World War. Can you be a little more concrete about what you mean by that?
Well, when I look at what characterized Europe in the interwar period, then I think that unfortunately there are some parallels to the time we live in right now, not least in relation to destabilization and instability in our society. And therefore, we have to be very, very attentive to what is happening around us. It is not so that you can find the solutions to the problems of the present or future by looking into the past. But what you can do with our past is to learn from it. And something that Europe was not strong enough for in the interwar period, it was to quickly rebuild so that the democracies could defend themselves against those who did not want freedom. And therefore, one of the very, very important lessons from that time is that the good must win. And the good is also what represents freedom and democracy, of course. And therefore, we are very, very busy with the rebuilding. We are fully engaged in Denmark. We are fully engaged in the NATO context. But in my eyes, it should actually happen faster.
How can it be that we have not been better prepared? And who is responsible for us being in this situation today, where we, among other things, are struggling with some violations of EU peace agreements, which apparently have not been well enough prepared? How can it be, and who is responsible?
I would say, in relation to the drone issue, then something we have to discuss today is how we intensify the investment collectively as Europe in both anti-drone capacities and in the development of drones. There is certainly something we have to get better at, just as Ukraine has to get better at it. We have also supported them in that. But I also have to say that no matter how many capacities you have, and no matter how good we become in the drone area, then I think we have to find a reality where drones can fly over our borders and cause damage. That's what you want, and it's part of the hybrid war. And when someone stands up and claims that you can completely remove the hybrid war, then I simply do not think they are right. And therefore, I would see it in such a way that we, of course, rebuild. We continue the rebuilding. We would like to intensify it in several different areas. But if someone tries to convince the Danes that they can defend themselves against drones, then it's simply not right, unfortunately.
We have also chosen to put migration on the agenda. We can also ask the UK to contribute to the meeting in Skavlan in June. What do you hope they will do?
Yes, that's quite right. We have also chosen to put migration on the agenda. This is first and foremost something that concerns defense and security. And part of that is also that we get control of Europe's further borders, that we get a reduced number of people who come here. And just as important, that we get the opportunity for people who come here to commit crime, that they can be released. I have meetings with the UK over the next few days. I have started to work with a few other colleagues in Europe on a case with some of the conventions, among other things in relation to deportation of criminals, and I hope to work closely with the UK. Thank you very much. Thank you. Sorry.
Sorry. So, first of all, I would like to welcome all of you to Copenhagen and to Denmark. I look forward to the next couple of days. We are going to have an informal meeting in the European Council, and tomorrow the European political community will gather here in Copenhagen. Our main task and our main goal is, of course, to discuss security and defense deterrence, including drones and help to Ukraine, and also migration will be put on the agenda. Sorry? Yes, we do. We have been supportive all the way through this war. That Europe has to do more, also on the financing question. And I think the idea from the Commission is actually quite a good way forward. Huh? Of course, there are some legal questions that has to be asked, and I'm confident that we will find a way through this. But the whole idea of using the frozen assets, I think, is a good idea.
On the European flagship projects, there still seems to be a lot of withholding from the member states, especially the southern member states. How do you think there's going to be a common European approach on this?
Let me be very clear. There has to be a common European goal on this. Otherwise, we will be divided, and that is not the right way forward for Europe. I think we have to leave our national perspective, talking about security in Europe, and look at the pattern with the hybrid war going on, and look at the war in Ukraine, not as a war in a European country, Ukraine, but as a Russian attempt to threaten all of us. So if you look at Ukraine from a European perspective instead of a national perspective, if you look at Russia and hybrid war from a European perspective instead of from your own national perspective, then I think everybody has to be on the same page, that we have to rearm all of us.
How do you want to convince Italy or Spain that this is the way forward?
Well, I put the arguments on the table that I think are the right ones. I hope that everybody recognizes now that there is a hybrid war, and one day it's Poland, the other day it's Denmark, and next week it will probably be somewhere else that we see sabotage, or we see drones flying, or we see you can there are many different kind of episodes. So I see this from a European perspective. There is only one country that are willing to threat us, and it is Russia, and therefore we need a very strong answer back.
BBC News. So you're saying you believe Russia is already conducting a hybrid war. Can I ask you, do you also think that Denmark and Europe has been left to look very exposed and vulnerable and unprepared?
It is a part of the nature of a hybrid war to do exactly what's going on in Europe right now. And of course, I want us to rearm. I want us to buy more capabilities. I want us to innovate more, for example, on drones. But at the same time, we have to be very, very transparent and frank. In a hybrid war, you cannot defend yourself against all different kind of activities. It's the whole idea of a hybrid war, to do many different things at the same time. So yes, we have to do more, but I don't think we will ever reach a conclusion where no drones are flying into Europe or no sabotage will be seen. So yes, we have to do more, but we also have to be frank that hybrid war is about, threatening us, and committing all different kinds of crimes and activities all the time.
How serious a threat do you think this is to Europe now?
I think it is serious. I think the war in Ukraine is very serious. When I look at Europe today, I think we are in the most difficult and dangerous situation since the end of the Second World War, not the Cold War anymore.
What do you think about shooting down those overflights?
You are asking about shooting down drones. Well, I am in general, I'm in favor of that. There is a mandate in Denmark to try to get them down. Of course, it has to be done in the right way because there is a civil society that has to be able to function. But there is a mandate to do it in Denmark. Okay, thank you.
Your Excellency, Your Excellency.